Welcome to part 2 of this series, Remote Controlled Objects. The current status of the application is this. We have a floor and we have a control panel. I can add a robot. I can turn it left, turn it right. I can move it. But if I add another robot, there's no indication of which one is the active robot for move purposes and turning left and turning right, etc. So we're going to fix that problem, and the other problem that we're going to fix is playing a sound. There's a speak method that's defined by the Controllable Interface that's not yet implemented. So stay tuned. There's going to be some interesting stuff in this video for you to learn. Okay, making these two changes will affect just about every component in the application. This is the architectural diagram for the remote controlled objects. I'll start with the control panel. I'll need to add a speak button, and then I need to associate that with the handler. The handler interface will not change, but I'll need to add some code to the main application in order to handle the speak button click. The iControllable will need to be modified. Well, not for the speak, okay, for the indication. Well, yeah, it will need to be modified because even though I put a speak method in there, I need to associate some way of associating a sound with a remote controlled object. So there's going to be some new code added to iControllable, namely a byte array property called sound. And then also modify the controllable object because I need to implement that interface method or the property. And then rat has a speak method which is implemented, but there's nothing in the body, so I need to add some code to the rat. For indications of like where the rat is on, or the robot, which active robot is on the floor and being controlled, I'll need to make a modification to the floor component when it draws on the onPaint update, and in the main app class, and to iControllable and controllable object, but not to the rat. Okay, so let's get going. There's a bit to do. This video is going to be a lot shorter than part 1. So let me just escape out of here and close down PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm starting with the code base that I left off in part 1. I'm using, just to remind you, the developer command prompt for Visual Studio 2017. So I'm just going to compile this project at the command line. And then Notepad++, which is one of my favorite text editors. And well, I'll just be editing the code in here. So starting with the control panel. Now, the first thing I'm going to work on is the speak, okay, the speak capability, which involves playing a sound, associating a sound file. Now, I have a sound file for this rat, okay, let me go to it here. And this is in, so I made this. So if I just click on rat.wav, okay, it's a WAV file, you should hear, that's it. Let me play that again a couple times. Okay, so that's it. Doesn't really sound like anything. It's kind of like a squeak, but not quite. That's where I'm getting my sound file from when I actually get to that part. Okay, so let's go ahead and minimize that window. You can use any sound file you want. It has to be in WAV format, okay, to work with the sound player. So let's get going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a button to the control panel. So private. And I'm going to call this speak button. Now I'm going to need to come down to the initialize component method and create that speak button. So speak button equals new, new button. and then set the text property on that new button. So that would be speakButton.text equals, and I'll just say speak. If you watch the first video, I was having a hard time figuring out speak versus squeak. And then I'm going to assign the handler for that, which is the same handler for all these buttons. Speak button dot click plus equals handler dot button click handler. Now, where to add the speak button, I think you add the robot, turn left, turn right, move. I'll put it next to the, right on the other side of the move button. So panel dot add speak button. Now we can compile this code right now. So let's go ahead and do that. CSC star.cs, and then we'll run it. Okay. The reason we compile is to make sure that we haven't made any, mistakes that we can't see. So there's my speak button. Let me make my control panel bigger. It's a flow panel, so it flows. If I hit speak, there'll be no indication of anything happening because I haven't implemented the ability into the main app yet to handle that speak button being clicked. So let's do that now. So we move into the main app application code, and in our button click handler, we just need to add one more case here. Tab, tab, tab. Not too many tabs here. Case. Case speak. That's the name of the text on the button. And I'll just call a speak method and send in b.text. And I'll stub this out. Okay, let me put my break in here. Now let me scroll down, and I'll just add the speak underneath of the move right before the floor click handler. Private void speak string text, and I'll just copy this line right here and stick it right here. So now my method will be stubbed in. Now let's go ahead and compile. Okay, and run it. Now when I click on watch the console in the background, now when I click on the speak button, we should see speak button clicked. All right, so that's just incrementally building the functionality. Okay, so once we have the speak button implemented, then it's time. Now, what are we going to do? So we could just go into the code, right? We could say, what we really want to do is this. We want to just, and that's, we'll go back to the main app, and then I'll just copy this right here, just like we're doing a move, right? We're going to say Control C, Control V, underscore robots underscore current robot dot speak. Now, that'll work too, because there's no, there's a speak method. So if we go to the rat class, right, it implements speak, but there's nothing in the body of the speak method. Okay, so we could put a little tracer message here that says robot squeaks, right? And we could certainly do that as as like an incremental development stage. So I'll just say console write line. Rat speaks. Okay. Save that. Now let's compile it. And let's run it. So now we'll see two things. Well, when I hit the speak button, you'll say speak. It'll show you speak button clicked, and then it'll say rat speaks. Well, unless I get a out of range exception, so let's see what the details are here. Okay, don't panic. Must be oh, index was out of range. Must be non-negative perimeter. All right, so let's go ahead and this is in list item 32. So let's go down here. Here's how you have to interpret these. Oh, main app speak, button click handler, event args e. Okay, main app speak. Okay, let's go back to here. Let's go back to the code. Let's shut this down first off. Go back to the main app and let's take a look at what we're doing. So underscore robot current robot. Okay. So here we go. I hit speak. Let's do that again, right? So this is what happened, which actually kind of leads me to another issue that we'll need to fix in the application. So we're going to run the app again. Okay. Now, if you click the speak button, okay, speak, you get this error. So let's just say continue. Okay. Now, if I add a robot and hit speak, then rat speaks. Okay, so what I'm doing, the error is everything works fine as I implemented it, except for what I need to do is check all these. Okay, so well, what is preventing us, except for just us as programmers knowing that we shouldn't click on these buttons, right? This just leads to another thing that needs to be fixed. In fact, this error was there all along. So if we run main app again, and we just have a robot floor and we say turn left, we should get the same problem. All right, so this is what testing does for you, right? You're going to find stuff that's not necessarily obvious when you're programming it the first time. So it just shows that we need to fix one other issue and maybe have to fix it in multiple places. So the fix for this is pretty easy. So I'm going to go down here into each of these that's trying to do an operation on the current robot, except for next robot. Okay, so robot and not the add robot, so the add robot's fine. The anything like this right here. All right, so all right, so what I'm trying to do is it's trying to let's just say if underscore robots, right? Robots. All right. So if robots underscore current robot, okay, not equal null, then you're probably safe in calling this method here. So now I just need to repeat this code for each of these. So if robot underscore robots underscore current robot square panel, open brace, closing brace. Okay. Now move, same thing. So I'm just going to copy this piece right here. Control C. So come down here to the move. And then underneath of the move, this right here, do that. So what we're doing is we're just making sure that the object is actually, not null in the position that we're trying to call this on. So same for the speak method, which is how we found this error. Control V. Okay. So Shift. Okay. Now I think anywhere we find something like that, I should have been doing this all along, but I just didn't think Well, that's what happens, right? You program and you're like, you're in the heat of battle, and then you come back and that's what testing's for. Okay, so let's run this again. Well, let's compile it first. See if we made any mistakes. All right, it says cannot implicitly convert iControllable to bool. So let's see what I'm doing here. If robot, current robot, I didn't copy everything. Not equal null. See, you guys could see that probably. I couldn't see that when I was doing it. Copy and pasting. It'll get you in trouble every time. Okay, now same down here. Not equal null. All right, now let's try it again. How do you get good at like finding these things, right? When you're first starting out in programming, you'll come across an error like that, and you'll probably be stumped for a while until you figure out exactly what the issue is. Okay, so in this case, everything's fine. Clear the screen. Main app. Now, let's just turn left. All right, we still get a problem, so let's go back to the turn left. All right, so unhandled exception index was out of range. All right, so let's see here. Right, okay. We're trying to access. All right, so this is not the way to do it. Let's do this a different way. Hit quit. All right, let's come up here. Let's do this a different way. I see what the issue is. So I'm checking for something that's not there. There is nothing here. Because if I haven't added anything, the robots.length, so let's do it this way. If robots, there's probably two tiers here. If robots.length or count greater than 0. So if robots can, that means something's in the collection. All right. So this will be a first good thing. So let me just replace all those first lines with this. Control C, Control V, Control V, and speak. Control V. Oops. Hit Control C. Do Control V. Save. Now let's compile one more time. Okay, and run main app. Now let's just start clicking these buttons. All right, so we're good to go. Turn left button click, but it didn't throw an error. Speak, move. Now next robot, it should be the same, right? So turn left, turn right, move, speak. Only when we add a robot, now we can say speak. So speak button clicked, move, turn right, turn left, turn right, move, turn right. Okay, so everything looks like it's okay. So we solved the one problem, but we really could do another check here. So, for example, just because robot count is greater than 0 doesn't mean that the current robot object, let's say, for example, if you had the ability to delete robots, right? You'd still probably want to put in the check if robot. Okay, so we'll do this. If robots, make it even more bulletproof. Robots, current robot, not equal to null. Open brace, closing brace. Okay, and slide this over. Well, yeah, we'll just do that 2 spaces over. Control save. Now we'll need to do this for each of these. Okay. Control C. So let's come down here to this one, add that in there. Control V, and put the closing brace, and space this guy over, and then do it here for this one. And then add the closing brace. Oops. Space this guy over. And finally for speak, Control V, and then come down here and add the closing brace. Get the spacing. Okay. Control save. Now let's try it one more time. This should be a little bit more bulletproof, although you won't be able to tell the difference right now. Main app 78. Let's go to 78. The modifier private is, oh, I must have left something off here. So open brace, closing brace. If open, oh, that's another opening brace. Closing brace, closing brace. Okay. Control save. That was a perfect example of fix the first compiler error first, and then all the other ones would go away. So main app. All right. Now we click on these guys. Turn left, turn right, move, speak, speak. All right. Next robot, add robot, turn left, turn right, move, speak, speak, rat speaks, rat speaks. Okay, now we are at where we need to be. So we have the button, speak button put into the control panel. We have the speak, click, button handler here, right? This is the button click handler. We've got the speak case installed or implemented. We have a speak method. Now we need to modify the Controllable Interface. So that's the next step to do. So let's turn our attention there. So Controllable. All right, so this will be fairly easy. We already have a speak method, but what we don't have is a sound. Now the way I'm going to store the sound is with a byte array, so BYTE. Now don't be intimidated if you haven't worked with arrays of bytes. Okay, I'm just going to call this sound, and I'm going to make it a read-write property. Specifically a read-write auto property. Well, this is the interface, right? So at this point, this is how you do an interface. Okay, that's the sound. Now the next thing that we're going to do is go to the controllable object. This implements the Controllable Interface. And because we're going to, let's see here. Yeah, we probably just need to put in the auto property since that's what it is. We're just going to be getting and setting an array of bytes. We're not actually going to be manipulating the array of bytes. So I'm just going to come down here below picture and just put in public byte array, lowercase, sound, get, set, and that's that for the, okay, so we got the sound property implemented as specified by the interface. So now how do we get the sound into, so let's go to before we do the rat, let's go back to the main app class, okay, and implement when we create. So if you just go over the steps in your head, it's going to be, we're going to click the add rat or add robot, excuse me, button, okay. We're going to do the add robot button. So let's go there. Let's trace that through. So we do the add robot. It calls the add robot method. Down here in the add robot method, we're going to we add the picture. Well, we create a picture. Okay. Now we can do this a couple different ways. We're going to have to create a byte array. Oh, we don't even have to do that. It depends on how we do this. If we, right now, see the way I'm doing the add, right, is I'm just creating a new robot rat inside of this, you know, underscore rats add. So I think what I want to do is I want to get rid of this. Let me just delete that. Delete. Let me create, first thing I'm going to do is, I could simplify this code. So image picture, well, I'll just leave that right there. I need the image because of the way I have the rat written. I could refactor that code too. I'll just leave that alone. I'll just say rat, rat, lowercase rat equals new rat picture. So I'm going to create the rat first. Okay, now I could do this. I could say rat dot excuse me, rat dot sound equals. Before I do this though, I need a IO because I need to manipulate a file. So we need to have the ability to read a file or use a file object to read a file and then read the bytes from that file. So using System.io. Okay, so the name of the rat wave is capital R-A-T, so I'm going to say rat.sound equals file. So if you just need to do you know, a real quick read of a file in order to read its contents into your program, just use the file class. So File.ReadAllBytes. There's a cool method called ReadAllBytes. Now there's other ways to do this. This is the easiest way. And just give it the name of the file. rat.wav. Now this just assumes, once again, right, that it's in the working directory from where the application runs. So wherever the main app is, that's where these images and the sound file is going to be. So now that I've got the sound set, I can just add the rat to the to the robots. Okay. Or I could create a byte array and use an object initializer, but it turns out it's the same exact way here. So you might be asking, what the heck are you talking about? I could actually, instead of saying rat.sound, I could say new rat. See, because I don't have a constructor that says, you know, picture comma sound, right? I have a constructor with a rat. So instead of overriding the constructor to take either a rat, that's a default, a rat.picture, I think I'll just do this. Oops. New rat picture. Let's see if this works here. New rat picture. Open brace. Sound equals, and then file dot read all bytes. Not read all butts. Read all bytes. rat.wav. Okay, and then that right there. Nope. Okay. Now, before we go one step further here, let's choke up. And save it. And let's compile. Make sure we're not killing ourselves. And run it. Now, when we add the add robot, okay, well, it did not throw an error, so we may or may not be reading. How can we test? How can we test before we actually try to play the sounds? Let's close this. And let's just put a little message in here that says console write line sound file length plus rat.sound dot, and since it's an array of bytes, length. Save that. Compile. Run it. Add robot. It says sound file length 58,350. Okay, so we have a length, right? So we know we set something. So let's go ahead and delete that. Now let's, the only thing left for the speak is to actually play the sound. So let's go to the rat class. This is where our speak method needs to be implemented. All right, so we can get rid of this tracer. Okay. Okay, so in order to play a sound, you need to use the media namespace. There's a SoundPlayer class. System.Media. That's the namespace that you're going to find this in. Now let's come down here to speak. So we're just going to say using. Oh, we're also going to need system.io. The reason why is I'm going to load. So we have a sound, right? You like, yeah, where's the sound at again? It's in the controllable object, right? It's a byte array. So the object itself has a set of bytes called sound. Now what we want to do is we need to convert. You are probably asking, how do you know all this stuff? Well, you have to go look at the documentation for SoundPlayer, okay? And it'll tell you that when you use a SoundPlayer, you create a SoundPlayer, it has to read a stream, right? It either opens a file or a stream. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a stream, and one easy stream to do is just put it in memory. So MemoryStream ms equals new MemoryStream, and give it a sound, which is a string of bytes, and open brace, closing brace. Now the using statement here, this will create the stream and then it will destroy the stream when it's finished, right? So it'll release the stream resources, which is pretty efficient, I suppose. All right. Now, using MemoryStream ms equals new MemoryStream sound, and then all we have to do is create a SoundPlayer. SoundPlayer sp equals new SoundPlayer, and just feed it the MemoryStream. So that satisfies the stream requirement, and then just say sp.play. Okay, well, let's see if this works. Okay, so compile. This is the first step. Okay, compiled fine. Let's run it. Now let's add the rat. And let's speak it. So listen carefully. Ready? Oh, there it goes. So turn left, turn right, turn right. If I turn left, I'm going to go north, so I'm going south. Okay. Turn left. Speak. Okay. So that's the speak implementation. Next, I'll show you how to add the ability to figure out which exact robot is active on the floor. So stay tuned for that. Okay, this problem requires a little bit of thought. First, when you add the robot, let's add the robot. Okay, so there's the new robot. What I'd like personally, if I'm writing this app, right, I'd like the new robot to be the active robot. So when you click the add button, the new robot that shows up on the floor should have some indication. I'm going to go with drawing a rectangle because it's pretty easy to implement around the currently active rat or robot in this case, right? So it's a rat that I'm adding, but it's a robot, controllable object essentially. So in order to implement this functionality, we will need to edit, once again, the controllable interface and then the controllable object. Okay. And then go into the main app and finally the floor. So the best way to actually tell figure out if a controllable object is active is set it to true or false. Give it a property, say is active, are you active, right? That way you can query the object itself and it will know whether or not it's the active object. Okay, and then your code has to manipulate that setting. So let's go ahead and shut down the floor. Okay, and I'll go to controllable interface and I'll just come down here underneath of is pin up and I'll add another property, Boolean, and I'll call it is active, and it'll just be a Boolean simple read-write property. So get set. Okay, so that's the controllable. Now we move to controllable object, and once again, so is pin up. I'll just come right below it and I'll just say public bool is active. I'll just say get set closing brace. Okay, and that's pretty much it for the property itself. All right, so we just added one Boolean property to the interface and then implemented that into controllable object. Okay, so now we're going to go to the control panel. Well, let's go to the floor. The floor is where everything takes place, I should say, for the most part. So we'll head to the floor. So essentially, and this I didn't need this, so I can just take that out. Delete. All right. So think about what we're doing here. Controllable robot in robots. Okay. So as we, whenever we update the floor, we're going to paint all the images on the floor, essentially. So we're already drawing the image of the picture in its current location. So we already have all the information that we need in order to draw a rectangle around it. The only thing that we have to do is we have to check each object. So we'll say if, okay, robot dot is active, okay, and that's a property, right? So that's how you use it. If robot is active and it's a Boolean, then we're going to draw a rectangle. So how would we do that? Well, we have the graphics, right? E.graphics. Okay, and there's a method on the graphics called draw rectangle. Draw a rectangle. Now it requires a pin, so new pin, and we'll draw a red border. Brushes dot red. Okay, and we'll make that. We'll do 2 pixels. That's 1 pixel. You could do 1 pixel. That'd be fine, but I'll do 2. So I want to have a red border. So that's essentially what you're saying is I want to draw a rectangle with a pin that's 2 pixels wide. That's red. And I'll need, so I'll just say now here I'm calling the new rectangle. New rectangle. Now when you draw a rectangle you need an X and Y coordinate. Where are we going to get that? Where are we going to draw this rectangle? But so happens the robot has an X and Y coordinate. That was pretty easy. Now we could have got all this from the robot's picture as well, but the picture X and Y and the robot's X and Y are one and the same, essentially. Okay, so then we're going to say, but we need a width and a height. Well, how big do we, how high and how wide do we need to draw this rectangle? Well, we can get that from the robot as well. So robot dot picture dot width, comma, and I'll come back down here. Robot dot picture dot height. Okay, and that might, let's see here. So Control save. Let's just compile now. Okay, so main apps USA. Okay, so let's run the app. It's not gonna, you're not going to see anything because one, we're not setting. We have yet to set any of the robots to active. So even if I added a robot, okay, and moved it, right? There's no, it doesn't know because it's, I have not set the robot to active or any of these robots to active. So where do we do that at? Well, when we create the robot, so one of the first conditions that I wanted for this thing is when you add a robot, you want to make it the active robot. So where are we adding robots at? Back in the main app, when we click add, we have this method here called add robot. Okay, so we add this robot, and I want to set, as soon as I create this robot, I want to say, hey, you're the active robot. Okay, you're the active guy. So let's go ahead and make you active. So let's see here. We already have a property. I don't need this printout no more here. Be careful what you select. Delete. So I create the rat. Now I set the rat's picture, and then I create the rat with the sound, and I'll just say rat dot is active equal true. I add the rat. Okay, and I have a floor dot refresh. Okay, but now how, when I call the floor dot refresh, let's see here. Well, let's just see how this works here. All right, so floor dot refresh, Control save. Okay, main app. Let's test this little piece here. So add robot. Okay, well, that robot's active, right? So move, as long as it's still active. But what happens if I click next robot? Next robot. move. Next robot. Okay, well, I need to add another robot. So that robot's active too, and that can't be, right? So next robot, move. That doesn't do us any good. So we have to have some way when we click next robot to disable the current robot who's active, or set the current robot to inactive before we change to the next robot. So let's go ahead and put that in there. Okay. Okay. Now let's just work on the next robot here. So next robot, before we do anything, we're going to say, oh, and here's something else too. We're going to have to do all this. Control C, Control V. Okay. So we're going to check, right? We're going to say, hey, if the current robot is not known, the count's greater than 0, then is active equals false. So we're going to change that to false. In other words, assume you have 2 robots. You're going to you click next robot, so the current robot is still on its former count. So you want to go select the current robot, change it from is active true to is active is false. Okay. And then you want to increment. Okay. You want to increment the count. Okay. And here, you just want to set the current robot is active. Okay. Control C. Control V. True. All right. And then floor.refresh. We're going to have to add a floor.refresh here. Floor.refresh. The reason why is when we need to have that paint method go to say, oh, that's now the active robot. Okay. And we need to call this next, right? So I add a robot. I need some way to figure out that, hey, the current robot now is no longer active. And since I'm already doing that down here, I'm just going to call next robot here. So I'll just say next robot. And I'll just put in some text like next robot called from add robot method. Okay. Because it needed text, right? So, and it'll give us a little goofy thing. I could take out all these tracer methods and rewrite this code so it doesn't require a text. We just did that for testing, or I just did it for testing. So next robot called from robot rat. I can get rid of this floor.refresh here because as soon as the robot rat, as soon as next robot is called, it's going to call the floor.refresh down here. So control save. Now let's see what this thing looks like. CSC, all right. Will it compile? Yes. Main app. Okay, so let's give it a whirl here. First off, let's make sure we didn't break anything. So next robot. Oh, check that out. All right, I need to do, yes, there is a possibility. So let's go back and fix that first. Where is that going wrong? Right here, right? So I assumed that, all right, that wouldn't be called, but it can be. So let's just do this. Let's repeat this entire piece of code here. Control C and replace this with that. Control V. So we have to guard ourselves against that not being, the count being 0. True. Okay. Control save. Now let's run it again. All right. You know, really in real life, right? A lot of the effort that you spend on writing your code is bulletproofing. Okay, so this is a pretty good example. Next robot. Okay. You know, you as the developer know, oh, well, I shouldn't click next robot because there is no robot, right? But a user comes up here and says, well, all right, here's a control panel. Let me just click on all these buttons, move, speak, turn right, turn left. It should all work, or at least seem to work fine, right? You could also go as far as to gray out these buttons unless count equals 0, right? That'd be something else you could do. The only thing you could do is add a robot. And then once you add a robot, then you can turn, you know, select next or whatever. And maybe next robot even is grayed out until there's more than one robot. So let's add a robot. Let's move him so we can see what's going on here. Okay, let's turn right, move. Okay. My rats should move slow. Oops. Turn left. Turn left. Okay, now let's add another robot. Oh, it works pretty good. Okay. So now the new robot is the active robot, so we should be able to move him. Now when we go next robot, it selects to the different robot. So that's pretty much what we wanted for this part 2. Okay. Oh, wait here. What do we got? We added a robot. Oh, I clicked add robot. Okay. Well, that was another robot. So move. Let's see what we got here. It looks like we have 2 guys who are... Oh, just when I thought I was out of the woods. Why is this guy? So next robot. Okay, so it fixed it with next robot. For some reason there was... Let's turn right. Let's go straight south. I think the next video I'll have to show you how to do double buffering so you don't have that flicker when you move the images. All right, let's add robot. Okay. It seemed like it was an anomaly. Let's stop the program. Let's run it again. Okay, let's try to get that error condition to come back. All right, so add robot, move. Let's say turn right, move. Turn left, move. Okay. So if I add a robot, so add robot, next robot, speak, turn right, okay, so it seems, so let's add another robot. I don't know if you saw that, I saw it again. So let's do that one more time. Let's go add robot, move. Add robot, move. Add robot, move. Add robot, turn right, move. It seems there's a condition that can happen. Add robot. That gives you 2 active robots. Move. And then you get this image flicker when you click the move button several times. Next robot. Move, or turn right, move. So this guy's coming down. That's just you're stepping through and drawing all those images. We can get rid of that, like I say, with double buffering. And I think I'll do another video on that just to keep continuing the series. There's a lot of interesting stuff that these two videos provide with regards to how to do this type of programming. Okay, so I'll just have to keep on playing with this, and if I figure out exactly what the problem is, I'll have to add that solution into the next video. But anyway, we've made the robots speak, and we got the point where we're indicating which one is the active robot. We click next robot. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we go. There we go. That was interesting. Okay, so that guy. Maybe it has to do with the order in which they're being drawn and whether or not it got updated. But anyway, okay, so there you have it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up directly at rick@palfreypress.com. Have a great day.